Have you ever seen this and been like, yeah, I want to play as that saving the world? Well, I have now lived that life, and trust me, it is not one you want to live. It just leaves you staring into the abyss wondering if any of this was even worth it. Kinda like that. Toolboy, a game that honestly is really hard to find any information on. After some digging, all I could really find was that it was developed by Majestic 12, and that it got released on the Eshop on October 22nd, 2020. That year just would not give us a break. And honestly, that's all I could find on this game. There was nothing else. With that vote of confidence, let's take a look at it. When you click on New Game, it asks, are you sure? Well, now that you ask, not really. So the story for this game is way more complicated than honestly a game like this needs, but it is a nice touch that they at least tried to put a story in. It starts off with you being a repair robot and you overhear a plot to blow up the tower you're currently repairing. And you, being the stupid useless droid you are, drop a tool right in front of them and now you have to run for your life. Although, I do like this still image of him where he looks like a dog running away from taking a crap on the carpet. It's a nice touch. Now the gameplay is nothing too special, it's just solve some puzzles, keep moving forward, get to the end. That's it. But that's way easier said than done when the game is an absolute buggy mess. But we'll get to that in a moment. We need to talk about this minecart you come across first. Now the tracks it's on, you aren't able to walk on, but you can't touch the minecart either. Which, first off, is a huge missed opportunity. I saw this, was really excited, thought it was going to be some sort of DK type level where you're riding in a minecart and get to jump over obstacles. No, that's too much fun for this game. What you're supposed to do is run on this blue trail the cart leaves behind. However, the cart doesn't move at the same speed you do running, so you have to do this weird walking pace that isn't too slow but isn't too fast. It was right in this moment I knew what type of game I was getting into. It's one of those ones where they're like, we don't want you to have too much fun, and this is the exact way you're going to solve this puzzle, and if you try and get creative, no, screw you, you're doing it my way. Shortly after this, we come across this guard you have to get by. Now is a good time to mention that you can jump on some enemies' heads and kill them, but not other ones. And this guard is one of the ones you can't jump on. One touch and he kills you, you're set right back to the checkpoint. So you have to sneak past this guard, but there's fall damage that kills you if you fall from too high, but anything below that, you still have this idle animation when you hit the ground, so it leaves this robot just enough time to turn and get you. To make matters worse, he also is faster than you, so even when you do slip by him, half the time he's still gonna get you. So it leaves you with this really awkward window of just the right moment to get by. However, the game couldn't be happy with just that one awkward timing. There's also a metal hammer that's smashing over to the side of you that you have to also time just perfectly to land and run through to make sure this guard doesn't get you. Now I've played through a lot of bad games, whether it be Super Moose, the Pokemon bootlegs, Phobia, but I've never had a game like this where immediately I was like, I don't know if I can beat this. I don't know how far in this game I'm going to be able to go. I was already starting to get really frustrated with the game and starting to get kind of ragey, but I thought, you know what? If I can beat Dongo, I can beat this game. There's nothing that can stop me, right? Right? Now this isn't me trying to be harsh or dramatic to this game, it's just the honest truth. This game is just miserable to play and has the worst game mechanics. Let's just take a look at some of the fun I had while playing this game. For starters, let's take a look at the section where you have to do wall jumping. Now normally I love wall jumping sections. I always get so excited whenever I come across them. Mario games make it so much fun. And there's even indie games that do it so well, so I had hopes maybe they wouldn't screw this up. But oh my god, this is a miserable experience. Whatever way you hold the joystick, you can almost guarantee that's not the way you're gonna go. So it leaves you in this guessing game of trying to point the joystick in a wrong way, hoping that maybe that will help you jump. Now, speaking of sections that make absolutely no sense with the joystick, there's a few sections where you run towards the camera, and any rational mind will look at that and go, he's coming my way, I must pull down on the joystick. No, you keep holding over to the right for him to run down. I feel like this wouldn't be so bad either, but he pauses for a moment to change directions and continue running, so it makes it feel even more like you need to pull down to actually make him move. But no, they just want to confuse you. Oh, but there's even more fun to be had when you're climbing from the pipes hanging on the ceiling. if you stop for a fraction of a second, and I mean you literally let go of the joystick for just half a second, you fall down. So you better know where you're going, otherwise you fall, die, and back to the checkpoint you go. But none of this up to this point could prepare me for the swimming section. Now, most underwater levels or any water parts of the games, I'm not a huge fan of. It's really hard, I feel like, to get it to control fluidly. But if you ever want to know how not to make an underwater section, this is it. For starters, you have a breath timer, which you're a robot. Either you can go underwater or you can't. There's no in between there, really. But let's move aside from that to talk about how horrible these controls are. Now, there's no way to move freely through the water. You just have to kind of pick certain angles and hope for the best. You also have to dodge a bunch of enemies, all while on the strictest time limit possible. Now, playing through this section multiple times, I honestly thought there was no way I could get through it. And I started doing what I always do with these bad games, and that's pausing the game and unpausing it, hitting different buttons, seeing if there's any way to kind of glitch my way through it or trick the game to let me through. Somehow pausing and unpausing actually made my breath timer extend out longer. It did it sometimes, didn't do it other times. I don't really know how I did it, but I got through the water section. I don't ever need to play that part again. We're good. I can move on happy with my life. There was just a switch up there to unlock a door, and now I have to swim back through.
U.S. government, how can I help you?
Yeah, I'd like to make all tools illegal. So once again, you hop in the water, start swimming, smashing the pause button, praying that it will somehow extend your breath timer long enough to get through. So once you make it through that, you jump over some acid, go by some molten lava on conveyor belts, and then come to an impossible jump. Now you turn on this elevator that you have to grab to go up higher. However, you don't really get to see where it's at, so you just have to randomly time your jump and hope that it's going to make it. I guess now is a good enough time to talk about the abilities you get in the game. So as you go through the levels, you get these different abilities. One of them is this remote that turns things on. How exciting. There's also a weight that gives you the ability to push heavy items, but in order to use it, you actually have to switch to it. This is one of those things I don't understand why you just don't always have this ability on. Like, you're a robot, if you got upgraded for this, you should always be able to do it. There shouldn't be something you switch on that allows you to do this, but whatever. There's the ability to turn into a box, which becomes kind of the whole savior of this game. And then there's the rocket, one of the coolest items you get in the game. And I'm just kidding, I have no clue what the rocket does. Once when I got it, it never worked, and I couldn't get it to work. Either it's just my game is bugged, or they just didn't take the time to program this in, because they thought nobody would play this game this far. I don't know, but yeah, the rocket does nothing. But let's go back to being a box, something I at least have some experience with. Now the main purpose of the box is to hide from detection of the enemies. You just kind of stealthily sneak along and turn into a box whenever a scanner comes. It's not a horrible game mechanic, kind of a fun idea. What ruins it though is the fact you trip an alarm, and through so much of this game there's just this quiet alarm noise going off in the background that slowly just drives you insane. And to make things even better, they just dump you out into this dead end where you have no clue where to go. And there's really not a lot of time to explore because there's constantly this robot that keeps coming back. So anytime you think you might be finding a way to go, then you have to turn into a box, hide, and it just ruins your whole flow. So I eventually got so confused with this part, I decided I'll look it up on YouTube and see if I can't get any help. And there's only like 3 videos of gameplay of this game. And none of them have gotten as far as I have. You know, I've always felt like a special person, now I know why. I'm one of the few people that have ever gotten this far in Toolboy. But none of this really helps with the fact I don't know where to go, so I think in order to beat a Toolboy, I have to become a Toolboy. I think I'm ready. Wait, that was it? There was just a hole in the wall I had to jump through? That's all I had to do? I feel like this might have been a little bit of an overreaction then. Well, to add insult to injury, there's at least an impossible jump you have to make here too, so that's fun. Might as well talk about the puzzle sections of the game. Now there's a few different puzzles. There's one that's just pulling levers that I don't understand what I was supposed to do, and I just randomly started pulling levers hoping for the best. There's one that's kind of like a Guitar Hero clone, but the angle it's at makes it really confusing and just really hard to time. There's another one that's metal discs you spin around and just hurts my head. The last one is this one you have to connect these Tetris type pieces together, but they just move so slow and it takes forever to solve the puzzle. Even if you know what the answer is, it just takes forever to solve it because they move so slow. You know, just fun gameplay. But after all these puzzles comes where you're supposed to use the rocket, I'm guessing. There's lots of these really long jumps, and I'm gonna assume the rocket was like a double jump or extension of your jump, something like that. But without it working, I have no clue how to make these jumps, so this is where the box comes in the most handy. If you switch into the box mode midway through the air, it extends your jump for way longer than what seems possible. However, it's very unpredictable where the box is going to go, so sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, and it just makes this whole section that much more miserable to get through. And there's just some sections it doesn't help at all. There's this one with this electrical grid you have to get across, but if you touch it, you die. I was able to kind of bounce through it with the box, but it still counted me as touching it. So whenever I'd unturn from the box, I'd just die. I, though, thankfully somehow got past it, and I'm not looking back, we're just gonna continue on. But after all this, you finally come to probably the worst part of the game, this section with moving platforms. And I don't understand where you're supposed to go here. I just started randomly jumping to platforms, especially in this game when a lot of the jumps you are supposed to make feel like you can't make them, and you almost have to manipulate the game into letting you make the jump. So on top of these random moving platforms, it makes it near impossible to tell where to go. But I don't know, I've gotten so lost in this section. I even tried backtracking to see if there was something I missed or if there was some way to jump higher. But I mean, like, what's the point? I put myself through so much in this game, I don't really see any reason continuing on. The only thing I can think of why I'd want to continue on is I could possibly be the only person to beat Toolboy, and I at least have that claim to fame. So eventually you're able to get to these platforms up higher, and with that you can do a box jump that gets you over to this final ledge. And oh my god, I did it! I've finally beaten Toolboy. I can officially say I've beaten this game. You're left with this crappy end cutscene and to be continued. No, don't you do that to me. There's no way that you should crap out another game. The world let it slide that this game's out there. Nobody's talking about it. Don't you tempt fate and try and make a Toolboy 2. Don't do it. But yeah, that's the screaming nightmare that is Toolboy. Honestly, I have played through so many bad games, but this one by far is the worst. It just feels like they threw a half-finished game out there and were like, eh, good enough. I don't know why Nintendo allowed something like this on. I think to make things worse is the fact that they charged $12 or $13 for this game. Thankfully, I was able to get it on sale for 99 cents, but even that was way too much to pay for this. At least with games like Dongo or Super Moose, there's things to laugh at that are funny, but this game really didn't have anything like that. It was honestly just such a buggy mess. But at least there is one positive about the game. The next time I'm at a family reunion, somebody's going on about how successful they are, I can just look at them and be like, shut up, I beat Toolboy, I'm better than you.